It's a privilege for me to be in Lyon and to grow up in this city, the birthplace of cinema, and to check one day that, well, it's not about invention, it's about art. It's about cinema. And that's why I wanted to show that and to show the diversity of his inspiration. And if somebody has some doubt about the quality of the eyes of Lumière and about his status as an artist, have a look to his photo. His photography, black and white, but also the photography in color, because other legend, Lumière said, well, we left cinema because we wanted to let the artist, in the hands of the artist. He was an artist, but he was so humble, he was so shy that he didn't consider himself as an artist. But he left, the main reason, he wanted to invent the photo in color, which he did. The guy who invented cinema invented also the autochrome lumière, the glasses, which is a wonderful process, and which was the main process until the 30s, until the Georgisman. So there is a world made by Lumière. You saw in the film, and that's why it was also. You see, the film are quite funny because they were young. They wanted to have fun with cinema, and you know that it's also Edison invented a machine called the kinetoscope. And the name of Lumière means light in French. It's the real name of the guy who invented. Godard said, hopefully they were called Lumière. And they did that in the neighborhood in Lyon called Mon Plaisir, my pleasure. So Lumière of my pleasure invented cinema. Thomas Edison couldn't compete with such origin like that. But the machine of Edison was an individual machine with a small image. And you had to put a coin, to put money to get the image. American system. Lumière decided to put people in the same room and to go, and the father of Lumière who saw the kinetoscope Edison, he said, okay, we have to take out the image of the box. I go back to Lyon, my sons will find out. And Auguste started, and Louis succeeded to do it. And so Edison said, the French guy is crazy. So he has a room full of people, maybe part of them they didn't pay their seats, and like tonight maybe. It's not a good system, it was wrong. Technically, Thomas Edison could have invented cinema, but Lumière invented it 3 times. He invented the technique, the art, and the audience, the screening room. That's why we can, and maybe we'll talk about Netflix and so on, but what cinema invented is what we have done tonight. And what people needed at that time was to be together and to share the emotion of the world in the big screen, on the big screen. What people needed 122 years ago, it's still what we need. And that's why the bourgeois Lumière, that shy man, got the good idea. As he got also the other crazy idea to send people all over the world. And the sentence of Tavernier is wonderful. They offered the world to the world. Because films shot in Japan were screened in New York, the one in New York screened in Moscow, the one in Moscow screened in Madrid. And it was quite a wonderful idea from Lumière and we had also, I was telling you that we had in France a political man who used to say, I prefer my daughter to my cousin to my neighborhood, my neighbor to a foreign people. With Lumière, it's exactly the opposite. I mean, he filmed the children, his own children, and the other children in the same way, with the same tenderness, with the same, that was also something I wanted to show, that generosity, because cinema is still about the same thing. Cinema is telling us who we are and who are the other people. And I think it's the same situation today.
Exactly. And cinema is all about interpretation, and you said that this is a proposition, one proposition to look at Lumière, and this is not the truth. This is one way to look at their films. Was it difficult to choose these films? Obviously, there are the ones that we know, the train, the workers, but almost 100 others that all of us probably don't know before.
Well, I wanted to have this film like a journey inside the main body of work of Lumière. So that's why there is a lot of chapters, and I could have imagined some of the chapters. And the French title of the film is Lumière, l'aventure commence. The adventure starts, in order to have a sequel, Lumière, l'aventure continue. But it's, the intention was, they made and produced 1,500 films. I don't want to say that the whole 1,500 films are great. Lumière also invented bad films. And once you have seen 17 films about the German army, I can tell you that it's tiring. And but I think that we have like 2, 3, 4, 5 films more possible to be made to show what that. And I would like to have another one to explain what was just after Lumière. A lot of people stopped because he didn't protect his invention. And for example, the idea that the cinema has no future came from the first night. That night of the 28th of December, Lumière, Antoine, the father, had a young friend. And he said, well, you have to come tonight because my son invented something extraordinary. So the guy came, he sat in the first row, and like you and François Truffaut, and then with the machine you had to put the film, and then to put the light. So it was like a diapositive projection before, how do you call that, the manivelle? Well, and so he said, okay, if I'm here to watch big photos on the big screen, I'm not impressed at all, because this I'm doing this for many years. And then suddenly the film started, the animation started, and the guy was totally impressed by that. Then he went at the end of the screening to see Antoine Lumière, the father, because Louis and Auguste stayed at Lyon that night. And he said, wonderful, this invention, I want to buy it. And the father said, no, we don't want to buy it, and thank me, young man, because this invention will ruin you, because it has no future. And the young guy was Georges Méliès. And but then, and Lumière said that just to put him away of that. And but then he gave him the plans to make his own films. And you know, Georges Méliès started to make a train coming in the station. So what I wanted also to show in this film was that other cliché and legend about Lumière, that Lumière is documentary and Méliès is fiction. Wrong. Lumière did fiction films. The Gardener is one of the first 5 films, and it's a first comic film, the first gag, and it was totally a story, and every film is directed. I think it's more than Lumière is Roberto Rossellini and Méliès is Fellini. Lumière is the first in that big family of filmmakers who wants to give back the real world on the screen. And Méliès and Fellini, they are that family, that kind of filmmaker. They want to reinvent the reality. And so Lumière is Kiarostami, Bresson, Renoir, Cassavetes, Keshish, and Méliès is Hollywood.
Right.
And the day that film came out in France was the same day La La Land. And we talked about that with Damien Chazelle, because of course he was totally in love with Jacques Demy, and so it's not an opposition, it's not fiction and documentary, it's about cinema, and it's an addition. Cinema is this two-way, and that makes it totally complete. So the early times of cinema, everything was written, and these two tracks were totally right away active in the history of cinema. So that's why it's a lot of things, wrong things about Lumière. I wanted to not to correct, but to show with films. I mean, there is never better way to watch films to understand things.
Certainly. And for example, the film with the Spanish soldiers dancing, it's amazing. Like it's abstract. It just raises a lot of questions that never get answered.
Yes, and because Lumière, after he made a lot of films, and he was a very good director. He sent people over the world, and people they had to. The cinematographer, they had to send the film. And then Lumière, that's why the catalogue Lumière has 2,200 numbers, but with a lot of lack of numbers. So we don't know. Maybe they destroyed some film, maybe they kept some numbers and they were waiting for more films. We don't know. There is no archive, nothing. We have some letters from Lumière. For example, the film, the players of cards with the waiter doing first it's like an innocent Super 8 film. Yeah, when we were kids and film by camera, we wanted to act a lot. Okay, but the composition of the film is exactly the Paul Cézanne painting. Go back to internet when you go home tonight, you'll see that.
Sorry?
Do any of the original cameras still exist?
Do any of the original cameras still exist?
Of course, come to Lyon. They built 400 cameras, and I think that in the world we still have like maybe 40 or 50 cameras. We have 5. You have here in the maybe the Finnish cinematic. You have maybe a camera, but in the Lumière-instituutin we have 7 cameras, 1 prototype, how do you call that, prototype, and we have the cinematograph number 1, the one who was used for the first screening at the Grand Café in Paris, the end of December 1895. And sometimes we do a real screening with a real camera and a film. Lumière went to New York, sent somebody to New York, and he took the same film than Edison, 35mm, but he put the, how do you call the perforation in the image. Not 4 square perforation per image, but 1 circular per image, because he was afraid to be accused to have done the same thing than Edison. But yeah, we have, and doing a real screening with a real camera, not in a big screen, because at that time, and until the 70s, screen, the Chinese theater in Hollywood, the main room, the main screen was not so big. It's our tradition of today to have big screen and to have Christopher Nolan giving his own answer to Netflix with Dunkirk. You had to see Dunkirk on the big screen. At that time, the screen was not so big, but the light, the precise, the focus, you cry. I tell you, it's very impressive, and we did that 2 years ago for the celebration of the 120 years of cinema in the Lumière Festival in a big hall of 5,000 people. And it was a very small image, but everyone watched it, and the emotion was very big, because it's still a mechanic thing, even if now we have electric lights. So yeah, we have a great exhibition, especially in this moment in Lyon, the one we did at the Grand Palais in Paris, which was in Bologna. It's now in Lyon, and with a lot of autochrome lumière, which are also great.
A blue box, I guess, is a microphone. Hello, Thierry, and thank you for the great film. Very interesting and important glimpse to the history. I was just wanted to comment about the subtitles. I understood this was maybe the first time it was used, but at least me and my friend Klaus here felt that was a bit, made it a bit disturbing, because then you had sort of, in some 50-second pieces, you had 4 different levels as a viewer to follow. And it would be interesting to have somebody who has such a nice voice as you and who could present it in Finnish language. I think it would be easier.
Next time I will learn Finnish.
Yes, Finnish is easy to learn, so yeah.
Yeah, I need to step in because as a distributor we had to make the decision, and we definitely wanted to keep the original voice by Thierry Frémaux. It has a meaning to us in this room and to others that is Thierry, not somebody in an acting studio doing the voiceover. We did have a hard time making this decision.
He's in the tradition of Henri Langlois, when Henri Langlois used to show Ozu film with Arabic subtitles. So, but yeah.
Sorry, also they will have to wait until you learn our beautiful Finnish language with your beautiful voice. Yeah, thank you.
I will. Yeah, thank you.